Hi, I'm Garm1, and this is Midgardia RPG's cool crowdfunding show. Today I have with me Reid San Filippo. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes,
Okay,
Reid
cool.
San Filippo.
All right. And you're here to talk to us about, is it America or Umerica?
I usually pronounce it Umerica.
Okay.
I kind of left it open. The whole concept of the name Umerica was in the after the apocalypse when nobody has any proper schooling. So I tried to take a look at how could someone mispronounce something in a natural way. So since most people aren't seeing the word America, they're just hearing people say Umerica, America, and the A turns into an oo sound. So it's just a vowel switch.
Oh, yeah.
The weirdest thing I've seen so far is a whole bunch of people thinking that it says un-America. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you're putting a couple extra letters in there. Would you
Yeah,
mind reading the title again?
I can see how you'd make that mistake, but no, that's not it.
Yeah, I'm not against America. I'm just saying that I blew it up and I'm calling it America now.
As you do. Yeah. And this is a post-apoc version of the Dungeon Crawl Classic system. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. When I first encountered Dungeon Crawl Classics, I thought it was perfect to run a campaign I'd been wanting to run for ages, which was a kitchen sink Thunder the Barbarian style apocalypse, and then I got introduced to the Zeet culture that was a bit more prevalent a few years ago than it is now for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I said, well, I can do that. And so I took what was going to be a home campaign and started writing a little fanzine about it. 18 issues later, there was a lot of stuff there, so did a Kickstarter and kind of started the whole shenanigans off.
It seems like it's worked out pretty well for you. You've got more than a couple products at this point, don't you?
Yes, yeah. If you don't count the doubled covers for the American Survival Guide, there's about 7 books.
Cool. So what's this Kickstarter for then?
The current Kickstarter, which is going until the 6th of May, is for the American Road Atlas and the Umerica Unnatural. The Road Atlas was the idea was to take into an account a whole bunch of new interesting places to die, which is kind of like adventure location snippets where you can kind of drop them in certain areas. It just has to match the climate, and that's about it. So that you aren't locked into, oh, well, that's not going to be anywhere near where my campaign's going. Well, as long as the climate matches, it pretty much will fit. And dealing with the gang information that the gangs that dwell in the Great Wastelands, Mad Maxian style, except for the fact that they're lizard men and undead and stuff like that. Because, of course, they should be. If you take a look at the chase cover of the American Survival Guide, you'll see that the Komodo Motos, a construction of Komodo Motos,
That's the best
which
name
are
I've ever.
basically Utah Raptor-like lizard men riding motorcycles, chasing down it's the cover is them chasing down a Jeep being driven by a robot in a cowboy hat, an elven adventurer lady with a laser gun in the back, and in the shotgun seat facing backwards casting a spell is a Hawaiian shirt dressed wizard who is absolutely not Gary Gygax. By the way, the wizard is actually looking at the cover, breaking the fourth wall and staring at you.
As is only right, as wizards are wont to do, yeah.
Right. So the Komodo Motos had to come up somewhere. So this is the book in which the Komodo Motos and many other gangs are brought up in, and also cover the basics of what a gang is. A lot of people aren't familiar with the biker gang makeup, and so I had Bob Brinkman help me with that, and he covered some of the basics of what is a biker gang. What could you expect from a biker gang? Not just from well, here's their stats. Why do they do what they do? How do they organize themselves? What do you call the boss? What do you call the second boss? So based off of actual biker culture, there's some sort of a system there. So you can kind of add that in for flavor, or you can ignore it entirely and just say, they're lizard men on bikes and they're going to eat your face.
Yeah, that's all the players need to know most of the time, but you know.
Well, yeah. And then, of course, a random gang generator, because what kind of an apocalypse would be complete without being able to roll up a randomly generated gang? One of my favorites from an older version of this is a gang that found a warehouse full of Halloween stuff, and so they all wear different types of Halloween masks, and they just call themselves the Halloweeners.
That is a pretty good gimmick, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty darn scary when you see a whole bunch of dead presidents coming after you. Live ones too, but they all be dead at that point.
Yeah.
And then adding in some new characters, our player character options, and of course new types of vehicles to roam around the wastelands and kill things with. That is the Atlas. Then we get to Umerica Unnatural, which is more about magic and psionics and cool stuff to find. So it's going to start off with, a couple years ago, I wrote Mind Games, which was a semi-genre generic a psionic system for Dungeon Crawl Classics. Very much a love letter to the AD&D second edition psionic system. And I'm updating it now. So I am working with First Aguirre to update that, add a whole bunch of brand new psionics, and give it a bit more of an Umerican post-apocalyptic feel. That'll be the first part of the book.
All
and
right.
then we have a slew of new spells for wizards and for clerics. And then we move into a bunch of new classes, psionic-based classes, some anthropomorphic animal people, and the Shifter, which is a alien psionic 4-foot-tall dumpy looking person who just happens to be able to take on the shape of creatures that it eats the brain of.
Handy.
So it's a shapeshifter, and it completely blows the laws of physics. So even though it's only 4 feet tall and blue and dumpy looking, it can change into something that weighs several tons and runs around. We've had lots of fun with them turning into dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Then we get into a treasure trove of stuff to find, whether it's cool food from the pre-cataclysmic era that somehow is still safe to eat, or was it ever not safe to eat, or was it ever safe to eat? Who knows? But it's there now, and it's tasty. And realistic, quote unquote, stuff you can find. And then we get into unrealistic stuff where you got magic and psionic and high tech and alien and necromantic and all sorts of fun stuff, kind of like an homage to the bunch of treasure stuff you found in the back of the DMG way back in the day. So,
it's still
but with an Umerican post-apocalyptic spin.
Yeah.
So that pretty much breaks down what both of those books are about. It's going to be hardbacks. They're going to be at least 128 pages, probably max out at 140. I don't want to go too much bigger than that. So they should be pretty nice. And the best part is, if you put even $1, one single American dollar, into the Kickstarter, and you go to the first update in the Kickstarter, which is backer only, there is a 38-page preview from the Road Atlas and a 60-some-odd page preview from Unnatural right there. It's just laid out text, but it's easily readable. It's even been proofread once.
Wow.
And it is yours to take a look at if you just even are willing to risk a single solitary dollar to check it out. And I figure if you pledge even $1 and you look at it, you should be able to tell whether or not you want these books.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing is are the books completely done? No, we're still working on them. But here's what we do have, and it doesn't have any art to get in the way. It doesn't have any special formatting to get in the way. It is just some formatted texts, so it's a pretty solid chunk of material that's going to go in those books.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, the Umerica natural cover is fantastic. That is beautiful.
Thank you. I did not paint that. All I can do is say that we came up with a concept for it. Nate Marcel is our cover artist. Every single one of the covers for every single book is an oil painting, and it is phenomenal. He does great work. And for painting in oils, he actually does it pretty quickly, which is pretty something to say about that.
Yeah,
He, you know,
it's not
so he
easy.
is great to work with. I have nothing but awesome things to say about Nate. He's amazing.
Yeah, like the Road Atlas one is good too. Don't get me wrong, but the Unnatural one, if I walked past that on a shelf, that would be an immediate stop and grab that. Like I have to see what this is.
Yeah, he did an exceptional job of taking our description and turning it into reality.
Yeah.
And on, I think, the fifth update, I actually posted the full paintings of both of those covers. So you can see, and that's a public post, so anybody can go see it. You can see the covers in their entirety without any cutting of them or any sort of gobbledygook on it, just the art itself.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go check that out later because that's stellar.
Because if you're only seeing half the train on that cover. There's two more cars to that train, and there's a whole other volcano, and yeah, there's a whole bunch there.
Nice. Does that stretch around to the back cover in the final
Yes,
version?
yeah,
Nice. Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. We experimented with the first few books and basically came up with the idea that the art was going to wrap around and cut the whole front cover will be the art, and then half the back cover will be art, and then there'll be a color stripe at the very edge of the back cover that's going to have all your back cover text and where you put the UPC codes and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that way, you get to see some of the, because it is a waste that some of the art gets hidden on these books. But we wanted to have both enough space to write on it, to get some flavor text on the back and also show off the art. And as much as I've seen bunches of books where the art goes all the way around and then they just put outlined text on top of the art, I don't like how that looks. I
It's
don't like
not
how
a yeah.
I'm not happy with the fact that that's what I did on the Umerica survival guide, and I much like the new. I much prefer the new thing where it's a solid stripe of color and some text on that. So it's like, am I reading text? Yes. Am I looking at art? Yes. Am I mixing the two? No.
Yeah, fair enough. Uh, so I don't know much about Dungeon Crawl Classics as compared to the other OSR variants. Why that one in particular, if you don't mind?
Um. Well, their moniker is Party Like It's 1978, or maybe it's 1979. I think it's 78. And when Joseph and his crew put it together, they decided to take the original D&D-esque system, the OSR system, and tweak it so that it's not being run like it was supposed to be run, that it's being run like the way they played it. So not in the sense of, oh, we house ruled that this race gets this advantage. No. The actual feel of the play of it. To give you an example, I almost always go to the fighter, because in many editions of OSR stuff or the original D&D stuff, the fighter, it gets back and forth of whether they're underpowered or overpowered, and it always seems kind of vanilla-y. When you finally hit 3, 3.5, and 4 and 5, they get all these options that help make them be cooler.
Yeah.
So they're more the fighter that you'd want. Well, Dungeon Crawl Classics gets rid of all of that shenanigans by having what's called a deed die. So when you go to check and see if you've hit something, you don't have a base to hit. You have a deed die. At first level, it's a D3, which means that depending on what you roll on that D3, that's how much you add to your attack and to your damage. Meaning even a first level fighter is going to do 1 to 3 points of damage more with a weapon than another character class will do. But it also means that that gets added to the 2 hits. So you have a random, instead of getting +1 to hit, you get +1d3 to hit, which makes that more interesting than just getting a +1. But also, anytime your deed die rolls a 3 or higher, you have done, guess what? A deed, or as they call it, a mighty deed. Now, these need to be declared before you do something. I always house rule that a character has a signature deed, that if they don't say what deed they're doing, they'll do that. Their standard, deed that they always do, because they've got a signature to them. But let's just say that you're a warrior and your party is facing off with a giant snake that shoots lasers from its eyes. What's the first thing you're going to want to do about that snake?
Stab it in the eyes.
Right. Now, so if you're playing 3.5, at this point, people would go and order pizza and have babies while they're trying to figure out what feat chain is required to put those eyes out and exactly what bonuses you would get from that feat chain. But in this, you would say, I want to jump on top of its head, and then so straddle the thing, and then take 2 daggers, because we know that daggers are, of course, the most appropriate thing to put eyes out with, and go wah, and just like put both eyes out. That's what I want to do. Well, he would roll the attack, or she would roll the attack, a d20 for the actual 2-hit roll, and then the d3 for the first level, or let's say they were 3rd level. They'd be rolling a d5. Ooh, so now we're going to get into some higher territory here. If it's a 3 or better, and the attack hit is a total. So first you have to hit with the attack, assuming the D die bonus to hit, and the deed die itself is 3 or higher, you have performed a deed. Now, there's a scale between 3 and 7 for the deeds. So just because you did the deed doesn't mean you've done it perfectly. 3 is a minimal, and 7 or better is the best you could possibly do with the deed. So the DM's like, well, your first level, you're not, the highest you're going to get on a deed is a 3. So if you make it, you're going to put 1 eye out. And that's it, is the fact that in addition to doing damage, you did a deed. So you are now riding the snake, and you have a dagger in 1 eye. Next round, what's going to happen? Who knows? But we know where your fighter is. He's on the snake's head, riding it for dear life, holding on because he's got a hand grip of a dagger shoved in its skull. It's probably not too happy with him. It may be a horrible, horrible round of pain and suffering for that fighter. But guess what? He put out one of those laser eyes.
Yep.
And that is what DCC is all about.
That's pretty cool.
Wizards, on the other hand, also get a new shake in the fact that every single spell has a full page or 2 dedicated to it, including a very large chart of results for casting that spell. You do not have a number of spell slots per day. You can keep casting the spell as much as you want, except for a small problem, that if you roll not so good, you'll lose the spell for the day. But if you keep rolling well, you'll at least cast it at some minimal level, even at first level. Of course, there's the slight problem that if you roll a 1 when you cast the spell, it will probably misfire, and you'll probably gain some level of corruption. So, wizards having tentacles for arms and being half insect are not uncommon. Or the wizard turning another party member's head into a chicken is also completely part of the system.
That's just how it goes sometimes.
Right. So magic is horribly dangerous to yourself and others. But a magic missile spell is no longer completely useless after a few levels, because if you roll a 32 on your casting roll, it effectively sends off like half a dozen small nuclear missiles to all of your enemies. I think it's somewhere around 12 missiles that do D12 plus caster level damage. It's stupid. It just like nukes everything in sight.
Yeah, if there's one thing I really don't like about D&D, it's the way it handles spells. It's annoying.
So, wizards are more versatile in that sense, more dangerous, and are effective until they fail, in which they are like a catastrophe waiting to happen.
That sounds pretty excellent. Do you need?
So
Sorry.
that's the difference between regular old school revolution, revival, whatever you want to call it, systems, and DCC.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Do you need the core DCC books to run Umerica?
Yes, it is part of the licensing from Goodman Games that any game that utilizes the DCC engine must refer back to the DCC book.
All right. Makes sense. So how did you get into tabletop gaming?
Well, I was born in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, which is right next to Lake Geneva.
Right.
And I was around 4 when my dad graduated from, I think it's Whitewater College, with an accountant degree. And he responded to an ad from one Gary Gygax to, come over and possibly talk about a job. Well, I think I was young at the time, but I gather from conversations I've had with him since that he was looking to hire my dad as an accountant for TSR, a burgeoning TSR at that point, and also to recruit him as a player because both my mother and my father would sit and read sci-fi and fantasy books. That's how I remember seeing them from the very earliest of times. I'm playing on the floor and they're reading books. And that was Tim Bruns just passing by. He's helping with the Kickstarter, and he's also an author of the modules.
Hi.
Um, so, but he brought me over. So I was all of 4 when I met Gary Gygax. My dad was not interested really in role playing, and he didn't take the job.
Yeah.
But when Gary described everything to me, it basically set my life in motion to where there was nothing else I really wanted to do. And to my father's chagrin, I would ask about it. Oh, hey, look, there's a special on the news about D&D and how it's related to the devil. Can I get a set, Dad? Can I have that? Can I? Because parents have way too much fun telling embarrassing stories about their kids. I'm sharing about how I bamboozled my father into giving me the red box set, and that's because it was his weekend, and so I was with him. Parents were divorced at that point, and he wasn't paying attention, and he slammed my finger into the car door as we were getting out. So it wasn't anything hugely major. The finger mostly still works. And but oh boy, that was enough. So it's like, well, he felt really bad about it. So he said, well, so let's go shopping, because normally he would buy something. We'd go and spend my allowance money and get a toy or something.
Yeah.
And of course he was willing to buy me whatever I wanted because he felt really bad. So what do you think I asked for? He says, oh, hey, do you want this toy? I know you like this toy. And I'm like, I turned him around and right. Here's the action figures. Well, you turn around and boom. And in Sears, there it was, a list of board games. And there was the red box set. And he's like, oh, fine. And, and then that started a cavalcade. A few months later, my mom found Star Frontiers box set at a garage sale that had a bunch of stuff in it. And she had no problems with me being a gamer. So she got that for me. That led to me starting to go to conventions. When I was in junior high, I wrote my first RPGA module that was for Gamma World, and I sent it in to be edited. And amazingly enough, it was edited by Gene Raby, who I then met at the convention, and I ran the module. Was I the best game master ever? Heck no. I wasn't even in junior. Was I in junior high? Yeah, I was in junior high, so I was horrible, I'm pretty sure, but people liked it. The proto Umerica was definitely strong with this adventure. So I pretty much couldn't escape my fate of being a gamer.
Well, there are certainly worse fates out there.
Yeah.
Man, now I really want to play this. I'm gonna have to badger my group, I think.
Well, that's good. Then my job is complete. I can go now.
uh, uh, Anything else you want to bring up that I haven't covered yet?
Um, well, I definitely would invite everybody to go to the Kickstarter because I like money. Uh, well, I like the money to actually get things done, which is kind of nice. And there's going to be a whole bunch of stretch goals for it, which includes up to possibly 7 adventures if we hit enough stretch goals. So there's plenty of adventures because that's something that people have been asking for is more adventures for Umerica. And really, this Kickstarter is going to steer me towards what future the Umerica line has. The better this does, the more I know that there's a hunger for more Umerica. So,
Yeah, I think there is a pretty significant market out there for really weird post-apoc. That's what I tend to like Doomsday and anything with vampires, all that kind of stuff.
right.
All right. Well, heck, this has been it's been great talking to you.
Well, it's been great talking with you. I look forward to seeing how horrible I look on YouTube.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry. Uh, hopefully I'll find a chance to run some America sometime. We do one shots every like Sunday, so we'll see. Um, yeah, and again, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say for a closing?
May all of your canwages be fresh.
All right. Well, if you ever have another Kickstarter project, feel free to hit me up again.
Excellent, excellent. I definitely will, and please definitely send me a link
Oh
so that
yeah.
I can go ahead and show all my friends how horrible I did.
Oh, you did great. All right. Have a good one, Reid.
Yep. Thank you.